I represented myself in court. My wife laughed. "You're too poor to hire a lawyer," she said. Everyone agreed. I stood up, started speaking. After my first sentence, the courtroom froze. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit into evidence document 47B, which shows that the petitioner has been systematically transferring marital assets into accounts under her maiden name since November of last year." The judge's eyebrows went up. My wife's attorney stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. Elena, my wife, went pale. I wasn't supposed to know about that. I wasn't supposed to know about a lot of things. The courtroom was small, stuffy, and smelled like old carpet and anxiety. Judge Patricia Owens presided, a woman in her late 50s with steel gray hair and reading glasses that made her look perpetually disappointed. She had that look now. "Mr. Brennan," she said slowly, "you're claiming your wife has been hiding assets?" "Not claiming, Your Honor, documenting." I held up a manila folder. It was thick. I'd been working on it for 7 months. Elena's attorney, a shark named Vincent Holder, cleared his throat. "Your Honor, this is clearly a desperate attempt to—" "I'd like to hear what Mr. Brennan has to say," Judge Owens interrupted. She leaned forward. "Continue." I opened the folder. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd been shaking when I walked in here an hour ago, when Elena had made that comment about me being too poor for a lawyer, when our son Trevor had smirked from the gallery like I was a joke. "On November 14th of last year," I said, "Mrs. Brennan opened an account at First National Bank under the name Elena Vasquez. That's her maiden name. She transferred $4,200 from our joint savings account. 2 weeks later, another $3,800. By January, she'd moved over $50,000. "That's absurd," Elena said. Her voice was sharp, but I heard the crack underneath. "I have every right to—" "Mrs. Brennan," Judge Owens said quietly, "you'll have your turn." I laid out the first page of bank statements on the table. "I'm not saying she doesn't have the right to manage money, Your Honor. I'm saying she did it without informing me while simultaneously claiming in her petition that I've been financially irresponsible and left the family destitute." Vincent Holder was flipping through his own notes now, looking confused. Elena had clearly not told him about the Vasquez account. "Good." "Your Honor," Holder said, "we'll need time to review." "How did you obtain these documents, Mr. Brennan?" Judge Owens asked. "I'm still on the account. Elena opened it jointly with herself under 2 names, her married name and maiden name. The bank sent statements to our home address. I have every legal right to access them." It wasn't quite that simple, but it was close enough to the truth that Holder couldn't object without making Elena look worse. "I see," Judge Owens said. She looked at Elena. "Mrs. Brennan, is this accurate?" Elena's jaw tightened. She glanced at Holder, who gave a tiny nod. "I opened an account to protect myself financially," she said. "Given my husband's recent job loss and erratic behavior, I felt it was necessary." "Erratic behavior," I repeated. Not a question, just letting the words hang there. "Your Honor," Elena continued, "my husband has been unemployed for 8 months. He's been withdrawn, angry, uncommunicative. I had to think about my future." "Our future," I said. "We're still married." "Not for long." The words landed like a slap. I'd known they were coming, but hearing them out loud in a courtroom still hurt. I forced myself to breathe slowly, to stay focused. Judge Owens tapped her pen on the desk. "Mr. Brennan, do you have additional documentation?" "Yes, Your Honor." I had a lot more, but I wasn't going to show it all today. That was the first rule I'd learned when I started planning this. Never reveal everything at once. Keep them guessing, keep them scared. "I'd like to request a continuance," I said, "to allow both parties time to review financial records fully and accurately." Holder jumped on it. "Your Honor, we support that request. Clearly there are discrepancies that need to be addressed." Judge Owens looked between us. I could see her mind working, weighing options. She didn't like surprises in her courtroom. Nobody did. "Motion granted," she said finally. "We'll reconvene in 3 weeks. In the meantime, I'm ordering both parties to provide complete financial disclosure. Bank statements, investment accounts, credit cards, everything. And Mr. Brennan?" "Yes, Your Honor?" "Get yourself a lawyer." "I'll consider it." She didn't look happy with that answer, but she nodded. The bailiff called the next case. We were dismissed. Elena stood up fast, grabbing her purse. Holder was already on his phone, probably calling his office to start damage control. I gathered my folder slowly, carefully. No rush. Trevor was waiting in the hallway. My son. 26 years old, tall like me, but with Elena's sharp features and entitled expression. He worked in finance, some startup that his mother's brother had invested in. He'd always been closer to Elena's side of the family than mine. "That was cute, Dad," he said. "Real cute. Trevor. You think you're clever? Springing some bullshit ambush in court? It's not bullshit if it's true." He stepped closer. He had 2 inches on me and probably 30 pounds of gym muscle. I'd taught him to throw a punch when he was 12. Wondered now if that had been a mistake. "Mom's going to bury you," he said quietly. "You know that, right? This little stunt just made things worse." "Maybe." "Definitely." He glanced back toward the courtroom. "You should have just signed the papers, taken what she offered. Now you're going to walk away with nothing. Is that what you want?" Something flickered across his face. Guilt? Anger? I couldn't tell anymore. There was a time when I could read my son like a book. That time was gone. "I want Mom to be happy," he said. "She deserves that." "What about what I deserve?" "You lost your job. You gave up. That's on you." I looked at him for a long moment. Really looked at him. When had he started hating me? Was it gradual or sudden? Did it matter? "I didn't give up, Trevor. I got laid off. There's a difference." Same result. He turned and walked toward the exit. I watched him go. Elena was standing by the elevator with Holder, both of them in heated conversation. She glanced my way once, her expression cold and calculating. Then the elevator doors opened and they were gone. I stood in the hallway alone. The courthouse was downtown, a 20-minute walk from my apartment. I'd moved out of the house 3 months ago. Elena's lawyer had filed an emergency motion claiming I was volatile and potentially dangerous. The judge had granted a temporary restraining order. I couldn't go within 500 feet of my own home. The apartment was a studio above a Vietnamese restaurant. It smelled like pho and cigarette smoke. Rent was $950 a month. I'd paid for 6 months up front using money from an account Elena didn't know about. That was the second thing I'd learned. Always have a backup fund. Always. I'd opened the account 8 years ago when I was still working at Brennan Logistics. It was just a small regional company. Warehousing, inventory management, contract fulfillment. Nothing glamorous, but steady work. Good pay. I'd been operations manager, which meant I handled the details nobody else wanted to touch. Then the company got bought out by a national chain. They restructured. I was 53 years old with a decent salary and 2 decades of experience, which made me expensive and obsolete. They offered me 6 months severance and a handshake. I took it. Elena had been supportive at first. She told me to take my time, find something good, don't settle. But 1 month became 3, became 6. Interviews dried up. The job market for middle-aged logistics managers wasn't great. The money got tight. That's when she started pulling away. Small things at first. She stopped asking about my day, stopped touching my shoulder when she passed behind my chair, started working later, going to more networking events. I'm not stupid. I knew what that meant. But I didn't say anything. I watched, I waited, I documented. The Vietnamese restaurant was closed when I got back. I climbed the narrow stairs to my apartment, unlocked 3 separate locks, and went inside. The space was cramped but clean, bed in one corner, desk in another, kitchenette along one wall. A single window overlooked the alley. I dropped the manila folder on the desk and sat down. My laptop was already open. I typed in the password, a 16-character string that changed monthly, and pulled up my files. I had folders within folders within folders, bank records, property deeds, text message logs, email archives, photos, witness statements, timeline documents, cross-reference spreadsheets, 7 months of work. People think revenge is about anger. It's not. Anger is messy, stupid, reactive. Revenge is about patience, about building something brick by brick until it's so solid nobody can tear it down. I opened the file labeled Phase 1 Complete and added a note. Courthouse appearance successful. Vasquez account now on record. Judge suspicious. Holder caught off guard. Elena rattled. Trevor hostile. Proceeding to Phase 2. Then I closed the laptop and stared at the wall. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, it buzzed again. Same number. This time I answered. "Yeah? Mr. Brennan, this is Detective Angela Morrison with the city police." My stomach dropped. "Detective, what can I do for you?" "I need you to come down to the station. We'd like to ask you some questions." "About what?" "Your wife filed a complaint. Says you've been harassing her, following her, making threats." I closed my eyes. Of course she did. "I haven't been anywhere near her, Detective. There's a restraining order." "That's what we'd like to discuss. Can you come in tomorrow, say 10 a.m.? It wasn't really a question. "I'll be there." "Thank you, Mr. Brennan." She hung up. I set the phone down slowly. stared at it like it might explode. Elena was escalating, trying to put me on the defensive, make me look dangerous, unstable. If she could get me arrested, even just for questioning, it would hurt my case, make the judge think twice about anything I presented. But I hadn't followed her, hadn't called her, hadn't gone near the house or her work or anywhere she might be. I'd been careful. So either she was lying or someone was doing it for her. Trevor. I opened the laptop again, pulled up a different folder. This one had photos, time-stamped, geotagged, me at the library, me at the grocery store, me at the courthouse, me walking around downtown. Every single one proved where I was and when. I'd been documenting my own movements since the restraining order got filed, just in case Elena tried exactly this. I sent the photos to a cloud backup account under a fake name. Then I sent copies to a USB drive and put it in my pocket. Then I sent them to an encrypted email account I'd set up through a VPN. Paranoid? Maybe. But paranoia only counts if you're wrong. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. You're making a mistake. Drop it now. I stared at the message, thought about replying, decided against it. Instead, I screenshotted it, saved it to my evidence folder, and blocked the number. Then I lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow I'd deal with the police. Tomorrow I'd deal with Elena's lies. Tomorrow I'd start phase 2. Tonight, I just needed to breathe. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of traffic outside and the occasional shout from the alley. I thought about Trevor, about the look on his face when he'd said Mom deserves to be happy, like I didn't, like I'd forfeited the right to happiness the day I lost my job. Maybe he was right. Maybe this was all pointless. Maybe I should just sign the papers, walk away, start over somewhere else. But I couldn't. Not because I wanted Elena back. That ship had sailed. She'd made her choice, and I'd made mine. No, I couldn't walk away because of what she'd taken from me. Not the money, though that stung. Not the house, though I'd loved that house. Not even Trevor, though losing my son hurt more than anything. She'd taken my dignity, my reputation, my sense of self. She'd turned me into a joke, a failure, a man so pathetic he couldn't even afford a lawyer. And she'd done it deliberately, methodically, with Trevor's help and probably others I hadn't identified yet. So no, I wasn't walking away. I was going to make her regret every single choice she'd made, not with violence, not with some dramatic confrontation, but with the slow, grinding machinery of facts and evidence and consequences. I was going to dismantle her life the way she dismantled mine, piece by piece, until there was nothing left. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and disinfectant. I sat in a gray interview room with a table bolted to the floor and a mirror that was obviously one-way glass. Detective Morrison sat across from me, a woman in her 40s with short dark hair and tired eyes. Her partner, a younger guy named Detective Hayes, leaned against the wall. "Thanks for coming in, Mr. Brennan," Morrison said. "Didn't have much choice?" She smiled thinly. "You always have a choice, but I appreciate your cooperation." I didn't respond. Just waited. Morrison opened a folder. "Your wife Elena filed a complaint yesterday. Says you've been following her, showing up at her workplace, driving past the house multiple times." "I haven't been near her." "She says she's seen your truck. Gray Ford F-150, license plate ending in 743. That's my truck, but I haven't driven it past the house or her work." Hayes spoke up from the wall. "Where have you been driving it?" "Around. Job interviews, grocery store, library." "Library?" Morrison raised an eyebrow. "You looking for work at the library?" "I'm looking for work everywhere, also using their computers." "Why not use your own?" "Because I can't afford internet at my apartment." That was a lie. I had internet, but admitting it would open questions about what I was doing online, and I didn't want to go there. Morrison made a note. "So, you're saying your wife is mistaken?" "I'm saying she's lying." Hayes pushed off the wall. "That's a serious accusation." "So is claiming I'm stalking her." Morrison leaned back in her chair. "Mr. Brennan, I've been doing this job for 18 years. Domestic situations get messy. People see things that aren't there because they're stressed, scared, emotional. Maybe your wife genuinely believes she saw your truck. Or maybe she's trying to make me look dangerous so she can win the divorce. Is that what you think?" "That's what I know." I pulled out my phone and opened the photo folder, slid it across the table. Morrison picked it up, scrolled through the images. Her expression didn't change, but I saw Hayes lean in to look over her shoulder. "Time-stamped photos," I said. "Every day for the past 3 months. Shows where I was and when. You can check the metadata. None of them are near my old house or Elena's workplace." Morrison kept scrolling. "You've been documenting your own movements." "Yes." That's unusual. So is having your wife file false police reports. Hayes crossed his arms. You sound pretty angry, Mr. Brennan. I am angry, wouldn't you be? Maybe, but anger makes people do stupid things. I looked at him directly. I haven't done anything stupid. I've been following the law exactly. I've stayed away from Elena. I've complied with the restraining order. I've done everything I'm supposed to do, and she's still trying to screw me over. Morrison set the phone down. These photos help your case, but they don't prove you weren't near your wife's locations at other times. Then check traffic cameras. Check her workplace security footage. Check whatever you need to check. You won't find me. We might do that. Good. Silence. Morrison exchanged a glance with Hayes. Some kind of silent communication I couldn't read. Mr. Brennan, Morrison said finally, do you own any weapons? No. Guns? No. Knives? Anything like that? Just kitchen knives, normal stuff. Have you made any threats toward your wife, verbal or written? No. What about online, social media? I'm not on social media. Hayes made a skeptical sound. Morrison shot him a look. Okay, she said. Here's where we are. Your wife filed a complaint. We have to take it seriously. But based on what you've shown us, I don't see enough to charge you with anything. So, I'm free to go. Yes. But Mr. Brennan? Stay away from your wife. Don't contact her. Don't go near her. If you see her in public, walk the other way. Because if we get another complaint, these photos won't matter. Understand? Understood. I stood up. Morrison stood too, handed me my phone. One more thing, she said. Your court date is in 3 weeks, right? Yes. Don't do anything stupid before then. Whatever you're planning, and I can tell you're planning something, make sure it's legal. It is. Good, because if it's not, you'll end up back here, and next time won't be a friendly conversation. I nodded and left. Outside the station, I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, hands on the wheel, breathing slowly. Elena was trying to isolate me, make me look like a threat. She'd probably told Trevor to file the complaint, maybe even made up specific details to make it sound convincing. But it hadn't worked. The photos had saved me. Still, Morrison was right. I needed to be more careful. No mistakes, no slip-ups. I started the truck and drove to the library. The main branch was downtown, an old brick building with tall windows and a vaulted ceiling. I signed in on one of the public computers and logged into my encrypted email. 3 new messages. The first was from a lawyer I'd contacted 2 weeks ago, a woman named Patricia Colburn who specialized in family law. She'd agreed to review my case for a flat fee of $500. Her message was brief. Reviewed your documentation. You have a strong case. Happy to represent you if you want formal counsel. Retainer would be $5,000. Let me know. I'd expected that. Lawyers were expensive, and I didn't have $5,000. But Patricia's review had been worth the $500 just for confirmation that I wasn't crazy, that my evidence was solid. The second email was from a private investigator named Lyle Ortega. I'd hired him 6 weeks ago to do background checks on Elena and Trevor. His message had an attachment. Final report attached. Found some interesting connections. Call me if you want details. I downloaded the report to a USB drive, then deleted the email. Lyle was thorough, but not cheap. I'd paid him $3,000 for 3 weeks of work. It had cleaned out most of my savings, but it was worth it. The third email was from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "Friendly warning." I almost deleted it without opening. Probably spam. But something made me click. The message was short. You're being watched. They know what you're doing. Stop now, or it gets worse. No signature. No identifying information. Sent from a burner email account that would be impossible to trace. I screenshotted it, saved it to my evidence folder, and logged out. Someone was trying to scare me. Elena? Trevor? One of Elena's friends or relatives? Didn't matter. Whoever it was had just made a mistake. Because threatening someone via email was stupid, and I had proof now. I left the library and walked 3 blocks to a coffee shop. Ordered black coffee and sat in the corner with my laptop. Opened Lyle's report. 50 pages, single-spaced, detailed. I started reading. Elena had been having an affair. That wasn't a surprise. I'd suspected it for months. What surprised me was who the affair was with. Vincent Holder, her lawyer. They'd been sleeping together since January, 2 months before Elena filed for divorce. Lyle had photos, time-stamped and geotagged. Elena entering Holder's apartment building, leaving hours later. Same thing the next week and the week after. Holder was risking his law license by sleeping with a client. If this got out, he'd be disbarred. Elena would lose her legal representation and look like a manipulator in court. That was leverage. But it got better. Trevor's startup, the one Elena's brother had invested in, was failing, badly. They'd burned through their initial funding and were hemorrhaging money. Trevor was listed as CFO, which meant he was legally responsible if the company went under with outstanding debts, and they had a lot of debt. Lyle's report showed liens, unpaid invoices, bounced payroll checks. The company would be bankrupt within 6 months. When that happened, Trevor would be personally liable for at least $200,000, unless he had money to cover it. Money like, say, his father's share of the marital assets. That explained why Trevor was so invested in Elena winning the divorce. He needed the money to save his ass. I sat back and sipped my coffee. Felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. They'd planned this. All of it. Elena, Trevor, maybe even Holder. They'd orchestrated the divorce to make it look like I was the problem. Unemployed, unstable, dangerous. While they positioned themselves to take everything, and they'd almost succeeded. Almost. I closed the laptop and finished my coffee. Then I walked back to my truck and drove to a storage facility on the east side of town. I'd rented a unit here 5 months ago. 10 by 10, climate controlled. Cost me $90 a month. Inside were boxes, lots of boxes. Documents, hard drives, backup files. Everything I needed to prove what Elena and Trevor had done. I unlocked the unit and stepped inside. Flipped on the light. The boxes were stacked neatly against the walls, labeled and organized. I'd been working on this for so long it had become routine, methodical, almost soothing. I pulled out one box labeled Property Records and opened it. Inside were copies of every deed, title, and property assessment for the house Elena and I had bought 23 years ago. The house she was now claiming was solely hers because I'd abandoned it. Except I hadn't abandoned it. She'd forced me out with a bogus restraining order. And the house wasn't solely hers. We'd bought it together. Both names on the deed. Both responsible for the mortgage. Even after I moved out, I'd been making my half of the payments from my severance money. Elena had been making her half too, except she'd been making them from the Vasquez account, the one she'd funded with marital assets, which meant she'd been using my money to pay her half of the mortgage. That was fraud, or close enough that a judge would care. I pulled out another box. This one had printouts of text messages between Elena and Trevor. Lyle had gotten them from Trevor's phone bill, not the actual content, just metadata showing who he'd been texting and when. The pattern was damning. Hundreds of texts between Elena and Trevor starting 6 months ago, right around the time Elena had started moving money. I couldn't prove what the text said, but I didn't need to. The volume and timing were enough to show coordination. I spent 2 hours in the storage unit, reviewing files and cross-referencing dates. Everything fit. Everything connected. When I was done, I locked up and drove back to my apartment. It was late afternoon. The sun was low and orange, casting long shadows across the alley. I climbed the stairs, unlocked the door, and stopped. Something was wrong. The apartment looked the same, nothing obviously disturbed, but I could feel it. Someone had been here. I stepped inside slowly, checked the desk, laptop closed, exactly where I'd left it, checked the kitchenette, clean, checked the bed, undisturbed. Then I checked the closet. The boxes I kept there, duplicates of the files in the storage unit, were shifted slightly, not much, just an inch or two, but I'd stacked them precisely, and now they weren't quite aligned. Someone had gone through them. I checked the locks on the door. No scratches, no signs of forced entry. Whoever had come in had a key or knew how to pick locks. I pulled out my phone and opened the security app. I'd installed a small motion-activated camera on the bookshelf 3 weeks ago, hidden behind a stack of old paperbacks. The camera uploaded to cloud storage every time it detected movement. I scrolled through the footage. There, 2:47 p.m. The door opened. A figure stepped inside. Trevor. He was wearing jeans and a hoodie. He looked around, then went straight to the closet. Opened it. Started going through the boxes. He spent 20 minutes searching. Took photos with his phone, then left, closing the door carefully behind him. I watched the footage 3 times. Trevor's expression was focused, determined. Not angry, not emotional, just businesslike. He was gathering intelligence for Elena. I saved the footage to my evidence folder. Then I called the landlord. "Hey, this is David Brennan, Unit 2C. I think someone broke into my apartment." "You sure? No damage?" "No damage. But things have been moved." "You want me to call the cops?" "No, but I want you to change the locks. Tomorrow, if possible." "That's going to cost you." "I'll pay. Just do it." "Okay. I'll be there in the morning." I hung up and sat on the bed. Thought about Trevor standing in this room, going through my things, my son, invading my privacy on behalf of his mother. How had we gotten here? There'd been a time when Trevor and I were close. When he was a kid, I'd coached his soccer team. We'd go fishing on weekends. He'd come to me with questions about girls, about school, about life. I'd been there for him, and now he was rifling through my apartment like a thief. I wanted to be angry. I was angry. But under the anger was something worse. Grief. I'd lost my son. He'd chosen her side, chosen the money, chosen the easy path. And I couldn't get him back, but I could make him face consequences. I opened my laptop and started typing. A detailed account of everything that had happened today. The police interview, the email threat, the security footage of Trevor breaking into my apartment. Tomorrow I'd send it all to Patricia Colburn, let her review it, advise me on next steps. But tonight I just needed to document. That's what this whole thing had become. Documentation, evidence, facts stacked on top of facts until the truth was undeniable. I wasn't fighting Elena with emotion or rage. I was fighting her with paperwork, and I was going to win. 3 days after the hearing, I got a call from Lyle Ortega. "You still need me?" "No. Why?" "Because someone else just hired me to investigate you." I pulled over to the side of the road. "Who?" "Can't say. Client confidentiality. But I thought you should know." "What did you tell them?" "That I don't take cases where there's a conflict of interest. Told them to find someone else." "Will they?" "Probably. Just watch your back, David." He hung up. I sat there for a moment, processing. Elena was still fighting. Even after losing in court, even after being exposed, she was trying to find leverage. Or maybe it wasn't Elena. Maybe it was Trevor. Either way, I needed to be more careful. I drove to the storage unit and pulled out the backup files. Made 3 additional copies, stored them in separate locations. One in a safety deposit box at a bank across town, one with Patricia, one mailed to myself at a P.O. box I'd opened under a fake name, paranoid but justified. That afternoon I went to the bank where Elena's Vasquez account was held. Brought the court order. The manager, a woman in her 40s with short blonde hair, reviewed the paperwork carefully. "This will take a few days to process," she said. "How long?" 5 business days. We need to verify the order with the court, then transfer the funds." "Fine." "Where would you like the money sent?" I gave her account information for a new checking account I'd opened at a different bank. Clean, separate, no connection to Elena or our old accounts. The manager made notes. "You'll receive a confirmation once the transfer is complete." "Thank you." I left the bank and drove downtown. Parked in a garage and walked to a coffee shop. Ordered black coffee and sat by the window. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Congratulations, you won. Hope you're happy." I stared at it. Typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I deleted the text and blocked the number. My coffee arrived. I drank it slowly, watching people walk by on the street. Business people, students, tourists, normal people living normal lives. I didn't feel normal anymore. Winning in court should have felt satisfying, vindicating. But it just felt flat. Like I'd climbed a mountain only to find nothing at the top. What now? I couldn't go back to my old life. That was gone. Elena and Trevor had made sure of it. But I didn't know how to build a new one. My phone rang. Patricia. "David, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Elena's filed an appeal. Claims the judge was biased, that the evidence was obtained illegally, that she didn't have proper representation." "Can she do that?" "She can try. Whether it goes anywhere is another question. But it means the case isn't closed yet." I closed my eyes. "How long?" "Could be months. Appeals take time." "Great. David, listen, this is just a delaying tactic. She's not going to win. The evidence is solid, but she's going to drag this out as long as possible. Because she's vindictive. Probably. Or because she's hoping you'll give up. I won't. I know. But you need to be prepared for a long fight." We talked for another 10 minutes. Patricia outlined the appeal process, what to expect, what I needed to do. By the time we hung up, my coffee was cold. I left the coffee shop and walked aimlessly through downtown. Ended up at the river. Stood on the bridge watching the water flow beneath me. I thought about Elena, about the woman I'd married 28 years ago. She'd been different then, softer, kinder, or maybe she hadn't. Maybe I'd just been blind. I thought about Trevor, about teaching him to ride a bike, coaching his soccer team, helping him with homework. When had I lost him? When had he stopped being my son and become Elena's weapon? I thought about the house we'd bought together, the life we'd built, the future we'd planned. All of it gone. And for what? Money? Pride? Revenge? I didn't know anymore. My phone buzzed again. Another text from another unknown number. Meet me, Miller's Bar. Tonight at 9. Come alone. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something made me respond. Who are you? Someone who can help or hurt. Your choice. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, Fine, I'll be there. Miller's Bar was exactly as I remembered. Dark, dirty, smelling like spilled beer and cigarettes. The kind of place where nobody asked questions and nobody cared. I arrived at 8:50 and took a seat at the bar. Ordered whiskey. Straight. The bartender poured without comment. At exactly 9, someone sat down next to me. I turned. It was Elena's brother, Mark Vasquez. He was thin, nervous-looking, wearing a wrinkled dress shirt and khakis. He ordered vodka tonic and didn't look at me. Surprised? He asked. A little. I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to apologize. I didn't respond. Elena's my sister, Mark continued. I love her. But what she did to you was wrong. I told her that. She didn't listen. Why are you telling me this? Because Trevor's company is failing, fast. He's going to lose everything. And when that happens, he's going to blame you. He should blame himself. Should? Yes. Will? No. Mark took a drink. Trevor's always been entitled. Elena spoiled him. I tried to warn her, but she never listened. Now it's too late. What do you want from me? I want you to be careful. Trevor's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. Are you saying he's going to come after me? I'm saying he might. I don't know, but I thought you should know. Mark finished his drink and stood. For what it's worth, I'm sorry, about all of it. You didn't deserve this. He left. I sat there for a long time, nursing my whiskey. Mark's warning echoed in my head. Trevor's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. I'd already assumed Trevor might try something, but hearing it confirmed made it real. I needed to be ready. I finished my drink and left. The night was cold, the streets empty. I walked to my truck, checking over my shoulder every few steps. Nobody followed me. I drove back to my apartment, parked in the alley, climbed the stairs, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Something was wrong. The apartment looked normal, but I could feel it. That same sense of wrongness I'd felt before. I flipped on the lights and checked the security cameras on my phone. The footage showed nothing. Nobody had entered. But something was different. I checked the desk. My laptop was closed, exactly where I'd left it. I opened it. Everything was normal. I checked the closet. The boxes were undisturbed. I checked the kitchenette. Clean. Then I checked the bed. There was an envelope on the pillow. Plain white envelope. My name written on the front in block letters. I picked it up carefully, feeling the weight. Something was inside. Not a letter. Something heavier. I opened it. Inside was a USB drive and a note. The note said, "This is what they don't want you to see. Use it wisely." No signature. I stared at the USB drive. It was small, black, nondescript. Who had left this? How had they gotten into my apartment without triggering the cameras? I booted up my laptop and plugged in the drive. It contained a single folder. Inside were audio files, dozens of them. I opened the first one. Elena's voice. "We need to move faster." David's starting to figure things out. Trevor's voice. "I know, I'm working on it." Elena. "Work harder. If he gets a lawyer, we're screwed." Trevor. "He can't afford a lawyer." Elena. "Don't underestimate him. He's smarter than he looks." I opened the second file. Holder's voice. "This is risky. If anyone finds out we're sleeping together, I could lose my license." Elena. "Nobody will find out. We're careful." Holder. "You need to be more careful. Your husband's been acting strange." Elena. "He's always been strange. That's why I'm leaving him." I listened to file after file. Conversations between Elena and Trevor, Elena and Holder, Trevor and Mark, all of them discussing the divorce, the strategy, the plan to isolate me and take everything. It was damning. More damning than anything I'd already compiled. But who had recorded these? And why give them to me now? I thought about Mark's warning, about Trevor's desperation, about Elena's appeal. Someone was trying to help me, or maybe someone was trying to hurt Elena. Either way, I had new leverage. I copied the files to my laptop, then to a USB backup. Then I called Patricia. "David, it's late." "I know, but I need you to listen to something." I played her one of the audio files. Silence on the other end. Then, "Holy shit." "Yeah." "Where did you get these?" "Someone left them in my apartment." "Who?" "I don't know." "David, this is huge. These recordings prove conspiracy. They prove fraud. They could even support criminal charges. Can we use them in the appeal? Absolutely. But we need to verify they're authentic first, and we need to figure out who recorded them. Does it matter? It might. If they were obtained illegally, they might not be admissible. What if we can't prove how they were obtained? Patricia was silent for a moment. Then we find another way to use them. Leak them to the press. Use them as leverage to force a settlement. There are options. I want to use them in court. I'll work on it. Send me copies of everything. I hung up and sent the files to Patricia. Then I sat back and stared at the USB drive. Someone out there was on my side. Someone who had access to Elena, Trevor, and Holder. Someone who had recorded their conversations without them knowing. Who? Mark? He'd seemed genuinely apologetic. But would he betray his own sister? Someone at Holder's law firm? An assistant or paralegal who'd overheard something? Or someone else entirely? I didn't know, and not knowing made me uneasy. But I couldn't ignore the gift. These recordings were gold. I spent the next hour organizing them, transcribing key sections, creating a timeline of conversations. By the time I was done, I had a complete picture of Elena's conspiracy. She'd planned this for over a year, started moving money before she'd filed for divorce, coordinated with Trevor to pressure me, seduced Holder to ensure favorable legal representation, every step calculated, every move deliberate. And now I had proof. I went to bed that night feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. The next morning I woke to pounding on my door. Loud, aggressive, continuous. I checked the time. 6:30 a.m. I pulled on jeans and a shirt and looked through the peephole. Trevor. He was alone, unshaven, wearing sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt. He looked like he hadn't slept. Dad, open up. I know you're in there. I opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged. What do you want? We need to talk. No, we don't. Dad, please, just give me 5 minutes. I studied his face. He looked desperate, scared. Against my better judgment, I unhooked the chain and opened the door. Trevor pushed past me into the apartment. He paced back and forth, running his hands through his hair. Trevor, what? My company's bankrupt. We filed yesterday. I'm personally liable for $240,000. My credit's destroyed. I'm going to lose everything. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? He spun around. I want you to help me. You won in court. You're getting half of everything. You can afford to bail you out? No. Dad, please. I'm your son. Are you? Because a son wouldn't have broken into my apartment. A son wouldn't have helped his mother destroy me. Trevor's face crumpled. I know I screwed up. But Mom, she convinced me you were the problem. That you'd given up, that you were dragging us all down. I believed her. And now? Now I see the truth. She manipulated both of us. She used me to get what she wanted. You think that excuses what you did? No, but I'm asking for help anyway. I'm drowning, Dad. I don't have anyone else. I sat down at the desk. Trevor stood in the middle of the room, looking lost. I can't help you, I said quietly. Can't or won't? Both. Trevor, you made your choices. You sided with your mother. You participated in fraud. You broke into my home. Those aren't mistakes. Those are betrayals. I'm sorry. I know. But sorry doesn't fix this. Trevor's jaw tightened. So that's it? You're just going to let me crash and burn? You did that to yourself? With Mom's help. Which you went along with willingly. Silence. Trevor stared at me. I stared back. I thought you were better than this, he said finally. Funny. I thought the same thing about you. He turned and left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. I sat there for a long time, feeling nothing. Later that morning, I met with Patricia. She'd reviewed the audio files and found a forensic analyst who confirmed they were authentic, unedited recordings. More importantly, she'd identified the source. It was Mark Vasquez, she said. Elena's brother? Yes. He's been recording family conversations for months. Insurance, he called it. He was worried Elena was going too far and wanted protection if things went south. Why give the recordings to me? Because he thinks you're the lesser evil. His words, not mine. I didn't know how to feel about that. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. Here's where we are. The appeal is moving forward, but slowly. With these recordings, we can file a motion to dismiss the appeal on grounds of bad faith. We can also file a countersuit for fraud, conspiracy, and emotional distress. Will it work? It should. But even if it doesn't, these recordings will destroy Elena's credibility permanently. No judge will side with her after hearing these. Good. David, are you sure you want to keep pushing? You've already won. I want this finished, completely finished. No appeals, no loopholes, no comebacks. Patricia nodded. All right, I'll file the motion tomorrow. We talked strategy for another hour. When I left her office, I felt focused, determined. This was almost over. That afternoon, I went to the house. My old house. I hadn't been there in months, hadn't driven past it, hadn't even thought about it except in abstract terms. But I needed to see it. I parked across the street and sat in my truck, staring at the 2-story colonial with white siding and blue shutters. Elena and I had bought it 23 years ago. We'd painted those shutters together, planted the trees in the front yard, built the deck out back. Now it was just a building, a shell of memories. Elena's car was in the driveway. The lights were on inside. I could see movement through the windows. I sat there for 10 minutes. Felt nothing. Then Elena came outside. She was carrying a trash bag to the curb. She looked up and saw my truck. We locked eyes across the street. She dropped the trash bag and walked toward me. Slowly, cautiously. I rolled down the window. David, she said, what are you doing here? Looking. At what? At what I lost. She wrapped her arms around herself. You didn't lose it. I took it. There's a difference. You admit that? What's the point in lying anymore? I didn't have an answer. I'm sorry, she said. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. Why? Why am I sorry, or why did I do it? Both. She looked back at the house. I did it because I was scared. Scared of being poor, scared of being alone, scared of what my life would become if I stayed married to a man who'd given up. I didn't give up. I lost my job. You gave up after you lost your job. You stopped trying, stopped caring. So you decided to cut me loose and take everything with you. Yes. At least she was honest. And Trevor? I asked. Trevor did what I told him to do. He's always been easy to manipulate. That's your son you're talking about. I know, and I regret it. I pushed him into something that destroyed his business and ruined his future. That's on me. Why are you telling me this? She looked at me directly. Because I'm tired, David. Tired of fighting, tired of lying, tired of pretending I'm someone I'm not. You won, I lost. Can we just be done? There's still the appeal. I'm withdrawing it. Tomorrow, you'll get the paperwork. I studied her face. She looked older, worn, defeated. Why now? Because I listened to the recordings Mark gave you. I know what you have. If this goes to court again, I'll be destroyed. Criminally charged, probably. I can't fight that. So you're surrendering. I'm accepting reality. We stood in silence. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves in the trees we'd planted together. I don't hate you, I said. I thought I did. But I don't. What do you feel? Nothing. You're just nothing to me now. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's worse than hate. Maybe. David, can I ask you something? What? Are you going to press charges? For the fraud, the conspiracy, all of it? I thought about that. I had the evidence. I had the leverage. I could send Elena to prison, destroy her completely. But what would that accomplish? No, I said finally. I'm not going to press charges. Relief flooded her face. Thank you. But you're going to sign over everything. The house, the accounts, the assets, all of it. I want this done in 2 weeks. No delays, no excuses. Okay, I will. And you're going to stay away from me, forever. If I see you, if you contact me, if you so much as think about interfering in my life again, I'll go to the police. Understood? Understood. Good. I rolled up the window and started the truck. Elena stepped back onto the sidewalk. I drove away without looking back. The next 2 weeks were a blur of paperwork. Patricia handled most of it. Elena signed everything without contest. The house went on the market, the assets were transferred, the accounts were closed and reopened in my name only. By the end of it, I was financially whole again. Better than whole, actually. The settlement gave me roughly 60% of everything because of Elena's fraud. It should have felt like a victory. It didn't. I moved out of the studio apartment and into a small house on the north side of town. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I started looking for work again, applied to jobs, went to interviews. Nobody was interested in hiring a 54-year-old former logistics manager who'd been unemployed for a year. I didn't care. I had enough money to last a while. I could take my time. One afternoon, Patricia called. The house sold. Closing is next week. That was fast. Good market. Buyer paid asking price. Okay. David, how are you doing? Fine. Really? Really? You don't sound fine. I didn't respond. Look, Patricia said, I know this whole thing has been hell, but it's over now. Elena's out of your life. Trevor's dealing with his own problems. You can move forward. I know. So why don't you sound happy? Because I don't know what moving forward looks like. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Have you thought about therapy? No. You should. What you went through, the betrayal, the legal battle, all of it, that's traumatic. Talking to someone might help? Maybe. Promise me you'll think about it. I'll think about it. We hung up. I didn't think about it. Instead, I went for a drive. Ended up at the river again, parked and walked along the path by the water. It was a clear day, warm for late spring. Families were out, kids playing, couples walking hand in hand. I felt like a ghost, like I was watching life happen from outside of it. I thought about Elena's question, what do you feel? Nothing. I felt nothing. The anger was gone. The hurt was gone. The desire for revenge was gone. All that was left was emptiness. I walked until the sun started to set. Then I drove home. Home. Funny how that word had changed meaning. Home used to be Elena, our house, our life together. Now it was just a building I slept in. A week later, Trevor showed up at my house. I was in the garage organizing boxes when I heard the doorbell. I almost didn't answer, but something made me walk to the front door and open it. Trevor stood on the porch. He looked different, thinner, tired, but calmer than the last time I'd seen him. Can I come in? He asked. Why? Because I owe you an apology, a real one. I stepped aside. He walked into the living room and stood awkwardly in the center, hands in his pockets. Nice place, he said. It's fine. Better than Mom's apartment. She's in an apartment? Yeah, small one-bedroom downtown. She lost the house, obviously. Most of her savings. She's working as a receptionist at a dental office. I didn't know how to feel about that. Trevor sat down on the couch without asking. I sat across from him in the armchair. I've been thinking a lot, he said, about what happened, about what I did, and I wanted to tell you in person that I'm sorry. You already said that. I know, but I didn't mean it before. I was just desperate. Now I actually understand what I did to you. What changed? I hit bottom, lost everything, had to move back in with Mom for a while. Then she lost her place and I ended up couch surfing with friends. It was humiliating. Welcome to my world. Yeah, I get that now. Silence. Trevor picked at a thread on the couch cushion. I talked to a therapist, he said. Mom suggested it. She's been seeing one too. Good for her. She told me to be honest with you, about everything. So here it is. I helped Mom because I thought it would save my company. I thought if we could get the money fast, I could pay off the debts and turn things around. But I was wrong. I just didn't want to admit it. So you destroyed our family for nothing. Yeah, pretty much. More silence. I don't expect you to forgive me, Trevor said. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I wanted you to know that I understand that now, and I'm trying to be better. Trying how? Got a job, warehouse work, nothing glamorous, but it's honest. I'm paying back the debts slowly, living in a studio apartment, starting over. Sounds familiar. Yeah, I guess I'm following in your footsteps. I almost smiled. Almost. Trevor, I appreciate you coming here. I do, but I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I understand. You broke my trust. You betrayed me. Those aren't things that just go away because you apologize. I know. He stood up. I should go, but can I ask one thing? What? Can I call you sometimes? Nothing big. Just check in, let you know how I'm doing. I thought about it. Yeah, you can call. Relief washed over his face. Thanks, Dad. He left. I sat in the armchair for a long time, staring at nothing. Trevor was trying. Maybe it was genuine, maybe it wasn't. Time would tell, but at least he was trying. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Elena in her one-bedroom apartment, working as a receptionist, about Trevor in his studio, paying off debts, about everything that had happened and everything that had been lost. Had it been worth it? I'd won. I'd gotten justice. I'd held them accountable. But I'd also destroyed my family, burned everything to the ground. Was that justice? Or just revenge with a legal stamp? I didn't know. Around 2 a.m., I got up and made coffee. Sat at the kitchen table in the dark. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You did the right thing. I stared at it. Typed back, "Who is this?" Someone who knows what you've been through. Someone who respects what you did. Mark? Yes. Why are you texting me at 2 a.m.? Because I couldn't sleep either. I keep thinking about Elena, about what she's become. I feel responsible. You're not. Aren't I? I helped fund Trevor's company. I introduced Elena to Holder. I could have stopped this before it started. But you didn't. No, I didn't. And now my sister's living in poverty and my nephew's drowning in debt. All because I didn't speak up when I should have. I didn't respond. Mark sent another text. For what it's worth, I think you showed remarkable restraint. Most people in your position would have pressed charges. You didn't. I thought about it. But you didn't do it. That says something about your character. Or my weakness. No. Strength. It takes strength to show mercy. I set the phone down, stared at the dark kitchen. Was Mark right? Had I shown mercy? Or had I just been too tired to keep fighting? I didn't know. I didn't know anything anymore. The next morning I called Patricia. I want to close out the case, officially, no loose ends. There aren't any loose ends. Everything's been finalized. I mean emotionally. I need closure. Okay, what do you need? I don't know. Patricia was quiet for a moment. David, have you considered writing a victim impact statement? It's usually used in criminal cases, but you could write one for yourself. Just get everything out. Say what you need to say. To who? To yourself, to Elena, to the universe? Doesn't matter. Just write it. Will that help? It might. Worth a try. We hung up. I sat down at my computer and opened a blank document. Started typing. I thought I knew you. 28 years of marriage. 2 decades of building a life together. I thought we were partners. I thought we were equals. I was wrong. You saw me as a resource. When I stopped being useful, you discarded me. You didn't just leave. You tried to destroy me. Systematically, methodically, cruelly. You turned our son against me. You stole from me. You lied about me. You tried to make me look dangerous, unstable, broken. And you almost succeeded. But I didn't break. I fought back. Not with violence, not with rage, but with patience and documentation and truth. And I won. But winning doesn't feel like I thought it would. It feels empty, hollow. Because what did I really win? Money? The house? Justice? Those are just things. What I lost was so much more. I lost my family. I lost my sense of self. I lost my faith in people. And I can't get those back. No court order can restore them. No settlement can replace them. So what was the point? I don't know. Maybe there wasn't one. Maybe this whole thing was just 2 people destroying each other over nothing. Maybe that's all divorce ever is. Mutual destruction. If you're reading this, Elena, I hope you understand what you did. I hope you feel the weight of it, but I also hope you move on. I hope you find peace. Because I'm done fighting. I'm done hating. I'm done with all of it. I just want to be left alone. I read it over 3 times. Then I saved it to a folder and closed the document. I didn't send it to anyone. Didn't print it. Just wrote it and let it exist. Patricia was right. It helped. A little. The days turned into weeks. I fell into a routine. Wake up, make coffee, look for jobs, go for walks, make dinner, sleep, repeat. Trevor called once a week like he'd promised. Short conversations, updates on his life. I listened but didn't say much. Elena didn't contact me at all. True to her word, she disappeared from my life. Slowly, I started to feel something other than emptiness. Not happiness, not yet, but something close to peace. One afternoon, I got a call from a company I'd applied to weeks ago, regional logistics firm. They wanted an interview. I went, answered their questions, talked about my experience, my skills, my plans. They offered me the job on the spot. I took it. The work was familiar. Inventory management, shipping coordination, problem solving. It felt good to use my brain again, to be productive, to be useful. 3 months passed. I settled into the new job, made friends with coworkers, started rebuilding a social life. I was okay. Not great, but okay. And okay was enough. 6 months after the final settlement, I was sitting in my office when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But I did. David Brennan? Yes? This is Detective Morrison. We spoke a while back. I sat up straighter. I remember. I wanted to give you a heads up. Elena Brennan was arrested this morning. My stomach dropped. For what? Embezzlement. Turns out she's been stealing from her employer. Small amounts over several months. They caught her and pressed charges. Jesus. She's being arraigned tomorrow. Thought you should know. Why? Because her lawyer's probably going to try to use your divorce proceedings as mitigation. Claim she was under financial stress, acting out of desperation. I wanted you to be prepared in case you're called as a witness. Will I be? Probably not, but maybe. Just stay available. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Morrison hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. Elena had been arrested. For stealing. Again. She hadn't learned. Hadn't changed. She just kept doing what she always did. Taking what wasn't hers. Part of me felt vindicated. See? I was right about her. She's a criminal. But another part of me just felt sad. How had we gotten here? How had the woman I'd married turned into someone who'd steal from her own employer? Had she always been this person? Or had I driven her to it? I didn't know, and I didn't want to think about it. That evening, Trevor called. Did you hear? About your mother? Yeah. She called me from jail, asked me to bail her out. I said no. Why? Because I don't have the money, and even if I did, I don't know if I would. She needs to face consequences. That's mature of you. I've been working on it. Therapy helps. We talked for a while longer. Trevor told me about his job, his apartment, his efforts to rebuild his life. He sounded good, stable. Maybe there was hope for him after all. Dad, Trevor said before we hung up, I know I've said this before, but I want to say it again. I'm sorry. For everything. I was a shitty son. You were, but you're getting better. Thanks. That means a lot. We hung up. I sat on my couch, staring at the ceiling. Elena was in jail. Trevor was in therapy. I was working a decent job and living alone in a quiet house. This was what winning looked like. Not triumph, not satisfaction, just survival. The next day, I got another call. Patricia. Did you hear about Elena? Yeah. Her lawyer contacted me and wants to know if you'd be willing to testify as a character witness. For or against. He didn't specify, but I'm guessing he wants you to say she's not usually like this, that the divorce made her desperate. What do you think I should do? That's up to you. But David, this is your chance to either help her or hurt her. One last time. What do you want? I thought about it for a long time. What did I want? Revenge? Justice? Peace? Tell him no, I said finally. I'm not testifying. You're staying neutral? I'm staying out of it. Elena's problems are her own now. I'm done being part of her story. Patricia paused. That's probably the healthiest thing you could do. Probably. All right, I'll let him know. We hung up. I went back to work. Focused on inventory reports and shipping schedules. Lost myself in the details. It felt good to care about something that didn't matter. Something that wouldn't hurt me if it went wrong. That evening, I drove to the river. Parked and walked along the path like I'd done so many times before. The sun was setting. The water was calm. Families were heading home. I sat on a bench and watched the light fade. Thought about the last year. The betrayal. The fight. The victory. Thought about what I'd lost and what I'd gained. Lost. My wife. My son. My home. My sense of security. Gained. My dignity. My self-respect. My financial independence. My peace of mind. Was it worth it? I still didn't know. But I was here. I'd survived. And that was something. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark Vasquez. Elena's bail hearing is tomorrow. I'm going to post bail for her. I know you won't approve, but she's my sister. I can't abandon her. I typed back, I understand. Do what you need to do. Thanks. For what it's worth, I think you handled everything with more grace than she deserved. Maybe. Take care of yourself, David. You too. I put my phone away and watched the last of the sunset disappear. Mark was going to bail out Elena. Trevor was rebuilding his life. I was moving forward. Everyone was trying to survive in their own way, and maybe that was okay. The next week passed quietly. I worked, I came home, I ate dinner alone, I slept. It was boring, normal, safe. I liked it. Then Friday afternoon, my boss called me into his office. David, I wanted to let you know, we're promoting you to operations supervisor. You've been doing excellent work, and we think you're ready for more responsibility. Thank you. I appreciate that. You start Monday. Comes with a raise, obviously. HR will go over the details. I left his office feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. I'd rebuilt. I'd survived. I'd moved forward. And now I was thriving. That evening I called Trevor, told him the news. "That's great, Dad. I'm proud of you." "Thanks." "Hey, I was thinking, maybe we could get dinner sometime, if you're up for it." I hesitated. "Yeah, I'd like that." "Really?" "Really." We made plans for the following week. Nothing fancy, just dinner at a casual restaurant. It was a start. Later that night, I sat in my living room with a beer, thinking about everything. A year ago, I'd been broken. Homeless, penniless, humiliated. Now I had a job, a house, a future. I had a tentative relationship with my son. I had peace. It had cost me everything. My marriage, my reputation, my sense of self. But I'd gotten something back too. Something I'd thought was lost forever. My dignity. Elena couldn't take that from me. Nobody could. Because I'd earned it back through patience and truth and refusing to give up. That was worth the pain. I finished my beer and went to bed. Tomorrow was a new day, a better day, and I was ready for it.